Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Claire Appelmans, and I run a business called Living Earth Sex Ed, where I help families talk with their children about bodies, boundaries, and sexuality. And I also work in person to teach sex ed classes to kids, K through 12. And I am here celebrating Sandra Elliott, who I am working with on creating the Early Years Self-Paced course, which we will talk a little bit about in just a bit. But Sandra, if you could introduce yourself and the work that you do, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Sandra Elliott. I own a company called elearning.center, and that company helps groups and organizations like Living Earth Sex Ed develop quality online education for audiences who really need them.
That is absolutely true. And Sandra and I started working together a couple months ago. It honestly feels like a really long time ago, but I think it's only been a couple of months. And Sandra and I have been working on this course called The Early Years, which is a very unique course because it is a source of information for parents and caregivers who want to talk with children aged 0 all the way to age 7, which is quite a large age range to try to tackle in one course. But we have, I think we're going to have total 8-ish to 11-ish modules. And we have been working on releasing one module a month this year in 2025. And I wanted to ask you, Sandra, you work with a lot of different projects, helping people create unique and impactful learning experiences online. And I was just curious if you could share what feels different about this project or what feels special or unique about it.
Oh, sure. There are a lot of things that are similar across a bunch of different projects. No matter who you're working with, you need to figure out what the learning objectives are, how you're going to reach those learning objectives, organize all the content in a meaningful way, which is different than if you were going to prepare it for a live audience, whether you're doing that online or in person. So there's a little bit of different stuff there that's involved that everybody has. But here, I think the main difference is a couple of things. One, I don't normally create things that help people talk to an audience of people 0 to 7. That's
That makes
new.
sense.
That's very, I don't do that a whole lot.
Uh-huh.
And so, the language that you use and the way that you even approach that content is quite unique to me. And I've really enjoyed the simplified, the comfortable language that you use in this. And then the second thing is, I think that is really important here is I create a lot of content that's valuable, but I don't know if I can say that most of the content that I create is as valuable to as wide an audience. I mean, any parents with a child, any caregivers of a young child would really benefit from this set of courses or this set of modules.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny whenever I share with people that I've had, pregnant and expecting parents in my course, in this particular course, they're like, what? How is that possible? Like, what do you can't even talk to the, baby or the person who's in utero. And the beautiful part is there's a lot of prep that can happen in the, we're pregnant and now we're trying to survive this first year, which is always really challenging and beautiful at the same time. And there's a lot of prep that parents and caregivers can do by talking to other caregivers in their child's world, and also by gathering some books and preparing themselves so they feel comfortable and confident to know in all of those organic moments of life, like changing a diaper, giving your child a bath, or when another child comes over to play with your kid. Like there's a lot of moments where we can talk with them and educate them so that they feel comfortable coming to the parent or the caregiver if there's ever any issues.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So my next question for you is, how do you think this course changes the lives of kids, families, and communities? And I can help answer this too, because I have a lot of thoughts. But I'd just be curious to hear if you had any thoughts you wanted to share.
I do. So, I was a child in the 70s. And at that period of time, nobody talked about any of this. Nobody talked about any of this. My mother grew up in a place where she was literally the only girl in her classroom. So she didn't know a lot of these things too. And what I find from this is that there's a lot of stuff in here that I don't think parents realize that they don't know. Right. And it's stuff that the moment that you read it and the moment that you hear it, you're like, of course, that sounds like a great way to approach it. But until you hear it, you would never have thought of it. Like, for example, we just finished up a section on how to talk to your kid about not dropping their pants in preschool. You know,
Totally.
you don't think about these kinds of situations. And if you have a chance to just prep for those situations, you can approach it so much more calmly with less sense of shame or embarrassment and a lot more sense of connection and collaboration.
Mm-hmm. And part of the point of this course is to provide people with practice. So the opportunity to practice saying out loud for the first time, you know, some of the things like practicing talking about conception, practicing talking about genital boundaries. Some people have never said certain words aloud in front of their child before. And many of us do not have practice saying these words and using this vocabulary in general in life.
Yeah. How comfortable are you saying vulva?
Right. At this point, I am very comfortable.
You are very comfortable,
but I totally, it's like, it's one of those things where it just takes time to practice. And the goal of this course is to provide you with opportunities to practice. And you mentioned this generational piece. So you're a parent, I think a lot about generational teachings and just generational habits that we have and cultures that we have and carry on from generation to generation. And this is one of those moments where there's so many parents and caregivers who would love to educate their child and support their child differently than they received growing up. And this course is designed to help bring that into reality, because you can want to do something differently. I would like to educate my child and be open and honest and have them feel comfortable coming with me, coming to me with any questions. But then you kind of sometimes go, what do I say? Like, what's the actual word that I say? And is this the right time to share this information, or is it too early? And if I share this information, are they going to go share this with everybody at the grocery store when we're
yes
to check out? Like, so we are basically here. This course is here to help you just get those words out for the first time, and also identify moments when you can share information.
Yeah. And then just to get to the last part of your question, what does that do for the kids? I think what this does is provide a shame-free environment where they can feel comfortable talking about their bodies, maybe in ways that we didn't get a chance to as a child. And that will make them more comfortable with their bodies. I'm a woman of a certain age, and I'm only learning about perimenopause and menopause because I'm in it. And, you know, these are the kinds of things I wish I'd been able to talk to with people earlier. I couldn't even talk to my doctor about them, and these are things that they can bring up much more comfortably without this sense of shame or dissociation from their body that a lot of us had growing up.
Right. And something that's interesting about what you're sharing is sometimes people think, wow, like talking with a 5-year-old about these things, like that seems a little young. When in reality, like the longer we wait, the more our silence is sharing something, is sharing a message with children that it's, not okay to ask questions about this part of the body or this part of life, or it's really shameful, these parts of our bodies or this part of life. And so the early years is really an amazing time to establish that bodies are beautiful and bodies are important and bodies help us, and we need to take care of our bodies, and we need help from other people to take care of our bodies. And there's body boundaries that we have, but all of that kind of relationship building with this type of conversation begins in these early years, whether or not you are talking with your kid, because they're learning something if you're not saying anything. And
silence speaks volumes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And whenever I work with parents of older kids, the main concern they have is my child will not talk to me. And I'm like, I wish I could have chatted with you, 10 years ago or 8 years ago when your child was in this early years time frame, because kids are ready to have these conversations, especially in the younger years. And I think you'll find, and maybe some parents already know this, but most of the time when you chat with the child, they take in the information and then they run off and play, and it's not as big of a deal. Sometimes we think it will be. Okay. And then the last question I have for you is, what's one thing that you think parents will get out of this course? Like, what's one transformation or one, transformation in themselves or in their family that they might experience?
I think the biggest transformation is just going to be comfort with these topics. A lot of people, like I said, you never know what you don't know, right? You don't know what it is that you're not comfortable talking about until your kid brings it up. And if you can prep for that ahead of time and be comfortable with that topic and know some books you could pull up or some videos you could share that help answer their questions, there's going to be a lot less of that discomfort that you might have felt in those silences growing up for yourself. And it's going to be a lot more comfortable for your kid. And your kid's going to be, because your kid's more comfortable, because you're more comfortable, everybody in the family is going to be more comfortable. And it's going to be a topic that people are not afraid to approach, which I love. That's what I love about the way that you teach all of this, is that it just feels like any other conversation you'd have with your kid. And that is so important.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to pair your word of comfort with confidence.
Yeah.
Because when we feel comfortable speaking about these things, I think there's also an element of like, I know what I want to say. I have a book that I want to share. And also I feel comfort and confidence in starting a conversation. A lot of parents of young kids are like, I'm going to wait until my kid brings this up, or like, I'm going to wait as long as I can and delay this conversation as long as I can until I can't avoid it anymore. When in reality, what we want to do is to have the parent and the caregiver be the one who starts the conversation. And we are going to help you do that in the early years course.
And you absolutely do. And you do it in such a comfortable way. It's just, everything just feels so approachable in this course. And I think that is something that will definitely show to the people who take this course, that they'll feel like, oh yeah, I'm talking to a friend. I'm learning how to do this from someone who is friendly, who is comfortable, and who will answer my questions if I do need to reach out.
Yeah, you are right. Like if anyone does contact me, I will be answering and saying hello.
Yes.
And we also we're in my office right now. So you'll get to hang out with me in the office in the self-paced course if you choose to take it. So I'm going to go ahead and share where people can find Sandra's work. Actually, Sandra, if you could share where people find your work, I'll share where they can find the course. But thank you for sharing all of your insights today. Yeah. So if people want to take the self-paced course called The Early Years for Parents and Caregivers of 0 to 7-year-olds, you can find that link on my website, which is livingearthsexed.com. And there's all sorts of things you can explore on that website. And the course itself is at beLearning.center/course/the early years. And
with dashes between each word.
With dashes between the words. But we're going to put it in wherever the link lives nearby. So you'll be able to find it.
Here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Sandra, if you could share if somebody would like to work with you on a project where they could find you, that'd be great.
Yeah, if you're an individual practitioner that has education, things that you say to people a lot and that you'd like to bring online, maybe use that as a revenue stream, or even just helping prepare people to work with you, you can go to belearning.center, look at what I do, and there's an information form there. Feel free to fill it out.
Sandra is a wonderful person to work with. Very understanding. If you're like, today I have this amount of brain left, Sandra will come in and fill in the rest of your brain for you, and is very good at honoring like work boundaries. So if you like are feeling overwhelmed by the project and need to take things slow for a week or two, she's very accommodating and is very detail oriented, and I can go on, and I will another time, but go ahead and check out her work.
Yeah, and check out the class, belearning.center/course/the-early-years.
Yeah, check it out and share it with anyone you know who is raising young kids. Okay.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Good to see you. Bye.
You too.